I love forests. I've dedicated my entire career to forests. My love affair with forests started in the middle of the night in Montgomery, Vermont, in the middle of a mountain thunderstorm. I still remember the blue arc, the smell and the sight of it as it crossed my bedroom wall, just feet away from my head. And then bang, every electronic device in the house went out, microwave, stove, even the well pump. The next day, when the electrician was surveying the damage, he didn't understand why we didn't die, given where the lightning struck. But I knew why. My bed wasn't made from a steel frame. My father made that bed. He was a cabinet maker. My bed was made of wood. It literally saved our lives. You may think that given this debt to wood, I'd be a tree hugger. But in fact, I'm a forest hugger. I'm a forest hugger because I value all of the benefits that forests bring, life-saving and life-sustaining benefits. Forests, they purify the air that we breathe. They filter the water that we drink. They provide habitats for animals, and they create places for recreation. Now, all of this isn't just from parkland, but it can also be from a working forest. And working forests also provide quality jobs that can sustain rural communities. Working forests can provide products that improve our quality of life, like homes that give us shelter, like books, and a wide variety of items. Now, I think it's a great development that people are more and more aware of forests and our benefits. I know that there's consumers and consumer-facing brands that are making zero deforestation commitments, and that's a good thing. But I'm concerned that in an effort to avoid deforestation, people will avoid purchasing forest products from responsible sources, and this could have the opposite intended effect and actually endanger our forests. I hear it all the time. I saved a tree, I didn't print this. Or I saved a tree, I read an ebook instead of a book. There's nothing wrong with doing these things, but it's important to know that you're not saving a tree. It's a renewable resource, and if it's not valued as a renewable resource, then it might get converted to something else that isn't renewable. So, how do I move people from feeling guilty about the use of forest products? Many of us environmentally conscious people do feel a pang of guilt, to actually feeling proud about using a product from a renewable resource that's well managed? Well, it usually becomes easier when people understand the distinction between deforestation and responsible forestry. So here's a picture of a forest. Let's assume this forest represents the entire forested estate of Canada and the United States. Now, well-managed forests and our working forests are responsible for harvesting less than 1% a year from the total forest area of these two great nations. Less than 1% a year more is taken to fire, insect, and disease. Now, 1% of harvesting happens while all the other benefits that I've spoken about can occur. 1%, it's like 2 or 3 of you getting up and leaving this auditorium. Now, while we're sad to see you go, we know that someone else is going to come in and take your seat. And that essentially is the cycle of responsible forestry. For every tree harvested, another it replaces it while maintaining the other benefits I spoke of about a forest. Now for a moment, imagine this auditorium, again as a forest, but this time totally deforested. Perhaps this section was turned into a strip mall. Perhaps this section into a strip mine, perhaps this section agriculture, and perhaps this converted to a parking lot where you have rows and rows of cars instead of rows and rows of trees. That's deforestation. That is the total and permanent loss of forests, and that's a great concern. And now, why does this happen? It can happen because the forest isn't valued. Everyone was so busy saving a tree, they forgot they could lose the forest. Because if an individual or an institution or an investor owns that forest, they may want to get a return on that investment and be able to sell some of that wood. And if they can't, maybe they'll convert it to another use that they deem to be a higher value that isn't renewable with those life-saving qualities. And so this is a huge challenge for us to get our heads around. Another reason that deforestation occurs is because of illegal logging in developing nations. People that illegally log the forest aren't sticking around to plant a new one or to ensure it regenerates appropriately. And the United Nations states that 20% of our global greenhouse gas emissions are a result of deforestation. Why is that? Because carbon is stored in forests. And when those forests are lost, you no longer have the carbon being stored that helps with climate change, for example. What some people don't realize, though, is that when a forest product, like the beautiful wood in this picture, is actually produced and a tree is harvested, that carbon continues to be stored in that forest product. And so by planting trees and growing trees, you're sequestering carbon in the forest. By harvesting a product, more carbon is sequestered. Planting another tree, harvesting it, even more and more carbon is sequestered. Now, it's a great thing. Architects, designers, builders, they're starting to clue into these carbon-saving benefits of forests. And in fact, right now, the University of British Columbia has a residence going up on campus that's 17 stories tall of mass timber. And everyone's pretty excited about it. It'll be probably the tallest wooden building of its type in Canada and perhaps one of the tallest in the world. The government of British Columbia states that this building sequesters enough carbon to offset the power required to give energy to your home for about 222 years. I'm pretty excited because North American forests grow enough wood to build this building every 6 minutes. And so we're quite interested in the Sustainable Forestry Initiative, the standard I oversee, to understand how much carbon is sequestered in these forests. These forests, certified to our standard, are approximately the equivalent of 100 million soccer fields, so it's huge. So we're undertaking some pretty scientific work to understand the carbon that is stored, the water that is purified in these forests, and the biodiversity, the wildlife that is maintained in these forests. Why are we doing that? Because we want to raise awareness that a working forest can provide these great conservation benefits. But they can also provide recreational benefits. On our footprint alone, 95% of the forests are available for recreation, hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, canoeing, paddling, whatever it is you do, taking a walk. They're available for that. That's a great thing. And it's not just us. There are many programs around the world, like the Program for Endorsement of Forest Certification Standards that endorses us, or FSC, that also are busy ensuring that forests are well managed so that products that come from them are well managed. And so if you want to, you know that you can cuddle up with a book if you'd like to, or a magazine. You can buy your farm fresh eggs in a paper carton. You can be inspired by a tall wood building as you walk by it. And you will know that if it's from a responsibly managed forest, it's good for you, it's good for our forests, and it's good for our shared quality of life. Now, forest products save my life, and using forest products can save our forests while improving our shared quality of life. So go ahead, feel good about using a product from a renewable and responsible resource. Be a forest hugger.